This is not Nigeria. It declared a repulsion for madness. No, 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 this is not Nigeria. Don't do that here.
Hello, my great and wonderful people. We welcome you once again to our today's episode of this program. And today we get a lot of videos for our table. When we say one quickly the review to you concerning the things when we say it they happen right now for inside this country, Nigeria. Just as you rightly say one from the introduction of this very broadcast, when Ibisi we received recently from barrister Dele Farotimi and also a human rights activist for the way when Ibisi it come outside of recent to also speak to Nigerians concerning some certain things when it be say na deep issues when it they affect each and every one of us. I just want you all to pay attention to this very episode of this broadcast when it be say barrister Dele Farotimi review to each and every one of us to enlighten us to society things when it be say a lot of us not really know concerning this country when it be say we call our own Nigeria. And before we bring you the full video, I beg help us to like this video and also share with others. Now we'll leave you to enjoy the full details. We'll come back for more.
So today, I want to speak to us about the subject. This is Nigeria. There are so many things, like I said, that should have come behind that, but I think it's fine enough so far. I'm sorry, I'm not plagiarizing. I concede the fact that is the title of your song, but it's just something that came to mind. But what do I mean when I said this is Nigeria? I think it is safer to start this conversation from the standpoint of the Ghanaian president, the one that went and said, this is not Nigeria. It declared a repulsion for madness. No, 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 this is not Nigeria. Don't do that here. He was speaking to marauding Fulani herdsmen in the northern part of Ghana. This is not Nigeria. But what did he mean by that declaration? What does it mean when you say this is not Nigeria? Exactly what does it mean for it to be Nigeria or for it to be Nigeria? This is not Nigeria. This is not a place where you can act with impunity. This is not a place where the law does not matter. This is not a place where you can do things without regard to the rule of law or for law, the supremacy of life. This is not a place where you can do anyhow. That was what he was saying. This is not Nigeria. But this is Nigeria. So what does it mean for it to be Nigeria? There is a brilliant communicator with whom we have been blessed in this season. His name is Bello Galadanchi. If you are not following that cat, you ought to. And when he gets to a point in his dialogue, one of his alter egos will go, he will probably go, this is Nigeria, my friend. And Bello will go, and there is that. So this is Nigeria. What does it really mean? What does it mean? It would appear that we will need to drill down in order to have a clearer understanding of the meaning of this is Nigeria. Let's start with the way we treat time. Time is probably one of the most intangible of assets because you really only can measure it by your clock. It's almost so intangible that you do not understand its passage unless your focused on time and season. Yorubas have this interesting way of measuring time. He says, Ìgbà ò kí ń pẹ́ lọ bí òréré, òréré ọmọ ọlọ́fin. Time tiptoes as Orere, the daughter of Olofin. It is the belief of the Yoruba that if you are not watchful of time and you do not take advantage of time and you are not careful with how you manage time, it tiptoes and time goes. Opportunities are lost and things that should be done within a time do not get done. So Yorubas had a very, very keen understanding of the need to pay attention to time and to use it rightly. And this is the same in almost all the cultures of Africa. In fact, we're so mindful of time that there are so many of our proverbs that speaks to the importance of the passage of time and how we should take advantage of every opportunities given to us by time. Yorùbá will say ìgbà ara là ń búra ẹnìkan ò kì í bú Ṣàngó lẹ́rùn. Do what you need to do when you need to do it. You cannot possibly be planting in the dry season. You can't. This speaks to the primacy of time and timeliness in our culture. But what do you find today? What do you find? We've evolved Nigerian time. Nigerian time. An excuse for madness. That makes it okay for us to have something scheduled to start at 12 o'clock and we start by 4. Meetings, events. Some artists actually think it's okay. In fact, I've heard of artists who got paid good money to perform at concerts who abuses the fans after coming into the arena late. What the? Think about it. So we evolved to the point where we have a uniquely silly culture that endorses the waste of time. We have Nigerian time. Oyibos will be invited to Nigerian events. The internet is replete with all kinds of videos of Oyibos, both memes and reality, getting to Nigerian events at the advertised time, only to find that we have no respect for ourselves or for time. Uniquely Nigerian. Or should we speak about the Nigerian factor? The one that makes it possible for a theory to work in one geographical space but come to Nigeria to die. Should we speak about that? The Nigerian factor. What is it about Nigeria that makes it okay for us to accept madness without flinching, to normalize it by our acceptance? Think about it. What makes that so easy? Why have we become so acculturated to madness as a collective that our very reality appears to be speaking to insanity? How? How? What happened to us? Nigerian factor. So because of the Nigerian factor, we've been building a Jakarta Steel Complex for decades. Nigerian factor. Because of the Nigerian factor, we are in national debt to build a moribund rail system. Because of the Nigerian factor, it has taken us almost 20 years to resurface Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Resurface Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. What happened to us? Nigerian Factor is the explanation for everything that has gone wrong with us as a collective. Nigerian Factor. What is this Nigerian Factor? But let's again look at us through the prism of a stranger's eyes. The lying David Cameron. Because I did read what Jonathan had to say in response to the lies he told in his memoir. But David Cameron said something that is pretty interesting and that is worthy of attention in dealing with this is Nigeria. He says we're fantastically corrupt. Fantastically corrupt. That was what David Cameron said. But why would he say this? Fantastically corrupt. You know what fantastic means? Unbelievable. And he's right, you know. Painful as it is to agree with him, but he's also wrong. But let's look at it this way. So David Cameron belongs in a culture where a prime minister cannot retain his office because he lied about COVID restrictions and how he partied through COVID restrictions. Any conflict of interest of any sort would have a prime minister resign his office. Talk less of ministers or heads of agencies. The slightest whiff of scandal, they resign their offices. But our own country, our president flies around in the private jet of his best friend, whose company he awarded a no contest, no bid contract, where a kilometer of road is started at 4 billion, where land has been expropriated, and his son sits on the board of this company, but not only has the Nigerian press been largely silent, nobody thinks anything is wrong. It's only bellyachers like us that are complaining. It's fantastic, unbelievable. But is it corruption? Nah, we are not corrupt. Let's stop with all those lies. This is Nigeria. We are beyond corruption. We shouldn't call it corruption. Now, it's got nothing to do with corruption. That's not corruption. That is not corruption. And I dare say, there is no Yoruba word for corruption or Igbo word for corruption for that matter. You might begin to describe it, but nothing in our cultures prepared us for what we are witnessing today. Language is evolutionary. The Yoruba culture never expected what we are seeing in our country today. It didn't envisage Nigeria or the putrefaction that has been normalized in Nigeria. Nah. Don't let nobody fool you. The Nigerian is different from the Yoruba or any of the indigenous nations that are trapped in this catastrophe. Fact of the matter is that Yorubas had a proverb or have a proverb that speaks to the root of this issue. So what's that proverb? It says, ìlú tí kò sí òfin, ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ kò sí níbẹ̀. I'm going to try my best to unbundle that proverb for you because it actually does speak succinctly to the madness that has overtaken us and that is found at the root of this is not Nigeria and this is Nigeria. And what is this? Ìlú tí kò sófin, a town devoid of laws. Ìlú tí kò sí òfin, a town, a city, a nation, an empire devoid of laws. Ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ kò sí níbẹ̀. There can be no crimes in such a place. So ìlú tí kò sófin, ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ò sí níbẹ̀. The land devoid of laws cannot have crimes. But this is very strange in Yoruba thinking. How can there be a Yoruba entity, enclave, a city, a kingdom devoid of laws? The Yorubas had evolved a highly civilized and sophisticated empire, long over empires, long before the European evolved their democracies. We had developed highly stylized societies with systems of rules, taboos, and laws ingrained deeply into the cultures. We had almost ritualized ways of doing certain things like washing ourselves, eating, the way you keep your broom. They had all kind of taboos which were all ways of strengthening rules. So the Yoruba's consciousness could not have imagined a place devoid of laws. So the Yorubas were not talking about a place without laws. They were actually speaking to a place where the law does not rule. Yorubas would say, bá a bá ń torí ẹrú ṣòfin ká rántí ọjọ́ tí ó mọ̀ọ́mọ̀ ọba tí ó mọ̀ọ́mọ̀ joyè. If we make laws because of the slaves, we must remember the day when the children of the worthies and kings will be caught by those rules. That will tell you of an egalitarian society where before a law may be said to be law, it must have universal application, which would mean that the same law that will catch the children of the commoners will catch the children of the royals. That was the kind of society that the Yorubas had evolved. So they were not talking about a place devoid of laws. They were talking about a place where the law does not rule. And they did not evolve societies where the law did not rule. They had societies that were governed by laws. Laws governed Yoruba societies. So they were not talking about a place ungoverned by law. But they didn't have Nigeria in contemplation when they were speaking about a place ungoverned by law. But Nigeria is actually the place that they were describing. So Nigeria is not fantastically corrupt, as David Cameron stupidly said. Nah, ignorant man. Or maybe he was just being nice and he didn't want to call out what it was that he could see very clearly in our country. And what is very evident in our country is a complete and total absence of the rule of law. And that is why he wrongly imagined that we as a collective are fantastically corrupt. We are not fantastically corrupt. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of Nigerians who are languishing in jails, either awaiting trial or have been convicted for crimes that are nowhere near anything as grievous or wicked as the ones that are being committed against them every day by those who purport to rule Nigeria. So we're not fantastically corrupt. It is impunity that has overtaken our land. And this has made madness, abominations normal in the country, Nigeria. Not necessarily because the people themselves are like that, but because impunity means that there are no consequences to the actions and inactions of men and women. And in the absence of sanctions, consequences, what has happened is that we have normalized madness in our country. This is Nigeria. And it's okay for us to have almost 20 million children, largely drug addicted and slapping the street without any training, no education, nothing. They have no use to themselves, practically no use to society, giving up, thrown away by the society, walking the street. And in the same country, we're busy appropriating money to buy private jets for men who have private jets for themselves to add up to our presidential fleet. We're spending billions buying yachts. We're spending billions constructing car park. We're spending billions building presidential mansions, vice presidential mansions, renovating. And we have children slapping the streets, unemployed and unemployable. And we have no program for bringing them out of the condemned life, the condemned lives that were foisted on them as a collective. This is Nigeria.
All right, my great and wonderful people, I believe say una don hear the total breakdown from the mouth of Barrister Dele Farotimi. Just as we always dey talk, I believe now each and every one of us don't see the reason why it be say the nation of the world, they see us as a country and also as a people, the way when be say that they see us and equally the way when be say that they treat us. E dey for the nation body, which is Nigeria, and also dey for we, which is Nigerians body. And remember, say na the people na it make the nation. If we change our attitudes, definitely the world will look us good as a nation. All right, now so talking concerning this matter, we'll leave you to share your own opinion with us in the comment section, even as we draw the line of this broadcast here. We'll see you again when we see you. Remember, we love you all. Bye-bye.